it would be just to hear your description of what the three principles mean for you, or how. So I know it probably changes daily, but what the three principles are for you.
Well, the three principles are for me today what they were when I first heard it. Is that I knew that I suddenly knew that I'd been tricked by my thinking, that I was a part of an energy that was the energy that created all things. That's what I would call God. And I saw that I was not God, like there was something beyond me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have changed, because left up to me, I'd still be analyzing it. And so I knew that there was something bigger than me, but I knew that that was in me. So I remember when the first couple of months I was doing a women's group, and I was talking to them, and I said, you know how in church they say God is love? I was like, holy crap, God is love, and that's a feeling that is in me. Oh, I get it, duh.
Yeah.
Because I'd said it a million times, I said the right words, but I didn't see it at that deeper level. So mind, that's what mind is to me. And mind provides me with the ability to get over anything. So no matter how upset I am with something, or no matter how caught up I am in my thinking, or no matter what drama happens to be happening in my life, I know that I cannot lose that attachment to that energy that creates all things. And I know that that provides me with an even keel. And if I just wait, my thinking will stop, and it'll pass, and I'll go back to that state of mind that is a gift of God to me. It's like that's just the ability to experience life, which is consciousness. And the ability to have, to me, the spiritual nature of thought took me a long time to really get that. Because I was still into like analyzing my thinking, right? Oh, now I'm doing negative thinking. Oh, now I'm doing this. Now I'm doing this. Thinking. That's really not where it's at. Who cares? It's seeing that thought's not real. That it's just thought that you're having. But that's not what you are, who you are, or what your life is. It's just a moment in time. And we have this ability from mind to experience the thought, to experience the ability to do thinking, to put one and one together and make two, to decide if it's a good day or a bad day, to think about anything. That it's like, to me, if you think about it, like you can't like pick a thought out of your head and look at it and say, oh yeah, I like that, I'll put it back. Now take this, get this one right here, and get rid of that one. And they're not like little things running around, but yet they're as real as they can be. Like having a definition of the principles is always hard for me, because I know that what I'm saying isn't it. So as I'm talking, I'm always editing, like really, that's not, because it's like trying to put some kind of a limit on something that's limitless. And it's just seeing how they work in me and remembering that mind provides me with mental well-being. That's a default setting, that I'm born with that, it's a gift of God, and then I get intelligence that comes from that, which, if you don't think you're very smart, that's a really big deal, because you can trust yourself for the first time. You can trust that you'll be able to figure things out for yourself, that you'll know what to do. So those are the gifts that come from mind, and then the ability to be aware that there's even a reality. It's kind of like you wake up to the fact that there's this unbelievable experience we're having called life, and we can like create anything we want to as we go along. So I don't like to think about my thinking too much, because it's like trying to figure out life before it happens. Well, there's two things with that. Why would you want to? Because otherwise it's surprising and new and fresh and interesting. If you already know everything that's going to happen ahead of time, that's really boring. So that keeps me in the moment, and it keeps me seeing that it's always happening. Like my mother had Alzheimer's, and she was like such a teacher to me. Because she couldn't talk. And so I asked her once, because you look at people that have Alzheimer's and we make assumptions about how what's going on inside. And so I asked her once, I said, Mama, do you have thoughts inside that you can't get out? And she shook her head and she said, yeah. So from that point on, I stopped talking to her like she couldn't understand me. And I would just like really listen to her to see if I could get what she was thinking at a deeper level. And she was a hoot. She'd like laugh and have all kinds of experiences, but she would like blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden she would say the most beautiful truth. And I just like, oh my God, do you know what you just said? And then she's gone again. As soon as she'd try to like use her intellect, she'd lose it. But there'd be those moments when that would come through. So that was like, this is to me the proof that we're not just our brain. There's something else that's using our brain, that's turning it on, that's coming through that. Those are just ways of describing it because I can't describe it any other way. So, we are all alive, and therefore we are all part of that energy. And that's home. We're fine. We're always fine. The rest is just thought, and we're just thinking about our life and creating the experience we're having with it and doing all kinds of things on the side, like I still can do my little analysis on the side and think it means something. But it's just the gift that we have. A gift that, it's kind of like the Midas touch in a sense, the story of Midas, where everything he touched would turn to gold. And then his daughter came up to him and gave him a big hug, and he gave her a hug and she turned to gold. And that really, he realized that gold meant nothing to him. So sometimes we use thinking in ways that are very hurtful and negative, but we don't know it. Nobody knows that they're doing that at the time. People don't know that what they think has anything to do with their reality. They don't. They're walking around thinking they know they're thinking, but they don't know that anything that they're thinking has anything to do with them and their life. So, it's really kind of seeing just how it works moment to moment that I think is helpful for people. But I think it's also really, it can be a hint, it can be a door, it can be a limitation, because we start to think about thinking. And we get just as enamored with that as anything else. We just love our thinking, we just love it. And so we get thinking about our thinking, and it's pretty interesting for a while, and then it's like we lose the feeling. And now we're starting to see problems, and now we're starting to have upsets. And one of the things I notice with people is sometimes when they first learn the principles, they get this really great feeling. And then after they've been in it for a while, they start thinking they know what the three principles are, and they start talking about it, and they can, memorize it and say what the three, they can use Judy Sedgman's definition of the three principles, and that's really good, blah, blah, blah. But then they start losing the feeling, and then they start looking for something else outside of them, or thinking that somehow their upsetness isn't coming from them. They think that the upsetness is coming from somebody else. And it's an interesting thing, because they'll go, yeah, I know the principles, but you're making me angry, or this is making me stressed, or this is a problem. And that's when when that happens, like, man, it's time to go back to the drawing board. Because whatever you know, that's not it. Because if you knew that at a deeper level, you wouldn't be suffering. Because when we get angry and we get upset and we have all that going on, we're suffering. We just did this big conference, and believe me, in the last few months I've been super tired because I've been working. It takes a lot of time and effort. And I've lost my grounding more than once. Blah, 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 blah. Like, why can't people give me the information when I want it? And then I have to get back to my good feeling. And the next thing I'm doing, I'm talking to somebody about their talk. And I'm feeling really inspired by it. And some things come through me that I've never heard before of myself. So it's like, oh my God, that was really good. But I know that that's not me, because a minute before that it was, I was creating this other experience that was a totally different kind of thing. So it's going in and out of it all the time. So I've had a lot of lessons in humility, but getting caught up in the world around me, and remembering that I just have to go back to that feeling. So I go back to my dogs, I go back to my husband. My husband is like the Rock of Gibraltar, and he just doesn't get into things like that at all. And he just is very, very calm, and then pretty soon he's very patient with me. He'll be watching TV and watching me be upset or whatever, and I get calmer, and okay, I'm back. And then then he'll start talking to me, and it's just the love he has for me is just, he's so patient, because he knows I'm just a human being, and that's the deal. I'm just a human being, and I get affected by my thoughts, but I don't care. That's the thing. It's like I don't expect that I'm not going to get there. So I think sometimes people think when you learn this that you're going to be in this magical, beautiful feeling all the time, and if you don't, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me, or something wrong with you. But it's just seeing that it's just the natural part of being a human being. We go in and out of it, but when you know it's coming from you, it's a whole different experience. It's very different, because you don't stay there very long. Like, I don't really like to feel that way, so I don't want to stay there. Whereas before, I thought that was how life was. That was all there was to experience. Humility is very, it's a regular class. It's like taking continuing education credits. You've got to keep taking it. And as soon as you think you know something, it comes along and pulls the rug out from underneath you and says, no, you got to go deeper. Chris, time to go deeper.